Season 4, episode 19. It's the Cup of Mets podcast. I'm me in Bosniak, joined alongside by Robbie Venegas as always. And Rob, we've hit the September mark. The final 22 games are upon us here. The Mets just wrapped up a nice little series in Detroit. But before we touch upon that, how we doing, man?
That was a great opening, but I haven't been around lately, so not as always. But no, everything's
Everyone,
good.
everyone's as always.
Another start to the school year was yesterday. So I'm back to work. Had a long summer, long cold summer, but other than that, Mets are in a playoff hunt. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, listen, I brought it up the last time that I recorded. They were, you and I went to Washington, right? And we saw a
Mhm.
nice dub game one when David Peterson went eight, and then they lost the final two. After that, they go to Atlanta, a team that's struggling. And I felt like that first game when they were able to score 12 runs with Nolan McLean on the bump, they started turning things around, right? I think I recorded right before the Mets and Phillies started their series, I want to say. And the Mets then swept the Phillies after taking two of three in Atlanta. They continued the roller coaster of 2025, then losing three of four at home to Miami. Okay. And then they go to the AL's best team and they face the Detroit Tigers. I don't even know if they're still the best team in the AL, but they take two of three. Today, they did lose the finale 6-2 with Clay Holmes on the bump. Uh, I mean, listen, they only put up two runs, but it was a matter of time until the offense kind of just had one little blimp on the radar, right? You can't score double digit runs every single game. But what's your take right now? I mean, the offense is firing on all cylinders. Their first two games in Detroit, they win 10-8 and 12-5, double digit runs. And I think they put up 19 run against the Marlins. Everybody is hitting.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it starts with your best, and that's Juan Soto. He had before today, he had five straight home runs in 5 games. And he's been tearing the cover off the ball. You could tell he's the Juan Soto of old, as you could say. Like he's confident up there. His last home run he hit, he stared down. He didn't stare down the catcher, but he like kind of, gave him a little nice gesture and was like, "See, I told you, like I hit it again." But he's feeling that type of way, and it starts with him. Obviously the offense itself has started to pick up. 1 through 9, but I think it just starts with your best, and that's Juan Soto.
Absolutely. And it's funny, we always go through like, MLB.com as like, last 7 games, last 15 games, last 30 games. Doesn't matter who you go to. You brought up 1 through 9. Doesn't matter who you go to. Last 15 games, this is just Soto. He's slashing 321 with an on base percentage of 500 and slugging 698 with 6 home runs, 19 RBIs, and 18 walks. Yeah, he starts it, right? Lindor's playing well. Alonso's playing well. Nimmo, McNeil, Beatty. Tyrone Taylor was playing great before he went on the IL. Luis Torrens has had a couple 3-run home runs. I mean, it's definitely crazy to see, and it's crazy to hear about Juan Soto being talked about in the NL MVP conversations, right? His name next to the Kyle Schwarbers and the Shohei Otanis of the world. I don't think that he's going to get it right, but his OPS now up to 920 on the season. And you brought up the home run. Yeah, he did a little stare down to the catcher afterwards, but I even saw it when he walked last night. He did a little bit of a shuffle on one of the walks, and I really just think that not you don't want to say this about somebody unless you're 100% sure, but I just think that once you start getting to the actual pennant race, I think that we're going to see a lot more of his enthusiasm come out as you're starting to see it now, especially down the stretch against a good Detroit Tigers team. And again, that 1 through 4, man, when they're all hitting, it is absolutely lethal with Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo. And right now, you're just seeing it everywhere.
No, 100%. And you forgot to mention one name, and that's Mark Vientos. He had a whole month of August
Ooh.
where he looked like he was Mark McGuire. I'm pretty sure he had like 13 nah, not 13, but he had like 8 home runs in that month alone. So having him starting to hit obviously expands that lineup and makes 1 through 9 much, much better. And to piggyback off your point, I would hope Juan Soto has more enthusiasm or more energy during the postseason because that's where it really matters. The Mets are trying to win a World Series here, and he's a type of player that you obviously signed to that long-term contract, mega $1 million contract to get to the playoffs and then to hopefully get to the World Series and and become a champion. But yeah, no, like, great to see. And I'm happy for even Mark Vientos, even Brett Beatty, he's starting to find his way in the lineup every day. Jeff McNeil's been the Jeff McNeil of old. And one more thing about Juan Soto is I understand MVP, you hear Kyle Schwarber, you hear Cal Riley, you hear Aaron Judge, you look at home runs, you look at their average, whatever RBIs. But Juan Soto is on pace for 30-30 season. He's got 100 plus walks already. His OPS, like you said, is in the 900s, and he's projected to hit 40 something home runs, a little over 40 home runs. So I think the last player to ever do that was Barry Bonds. So you want to put him in the MVP conversation. I think it's well deserving.
Yeah, dude, he's going to end up with over 40 home runs, over
Hmm.
120 walks,
Yep.
most likely over 100 RBIs, over 30 stolen bases. Who saw that? That's kind of
Nah,
like when
yeah, and
Shohei, that's kind of like
yep.
when Shohei stole
Went
30
to the
plus bags.
Dodgers, yeah.
Yeah, we're like, where the hell did that come from, right?
Yeah, or
Uh,
no, excuse me, his last year with the Angels, he was like snagging bags like that.
yeah, yeah.
But
And
yeah, credit to Richardson. I mean, Juan Soto gave credit to the first base coach, Antoine Richardson, and it's not just him, it's the whole team, bro. Brett Brady's got a couple stolen bases. Lindor is about to have another 20,
30,
25,
30.
hopefully. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully 30-30 season. And beyond. Even Marte, his grandpa ass still stealing bases. So, I give credit to the coaching staff on that one. Because Soto really wasn't like a base stealer beforehand, right?
No, no, I think the
Yeah.
most that he ever had in
So
a season was 12. And
he
and
tripled that. He doubled that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, dude, he's already doubled that. He could triple it. And I mean, listen, dude, it's like it's one of those things where I mean, I guess I'm somebody and you are as well. We look at the game very concretely. I've never seen a first base coach time every single pitcher accordingly like Antoine Richardson does.
Mhm.
And he does a fantastic job. I mean, dude, these walking leads are insane. I think the
Yeah.
Mets have stolen as a team over 90 bases this year,
Yeah,
right?
and,
And
and
I
and
think
how
they
many times have they been caught stealing? Their percentages in probably the 85%, 90%, you
and the
know?
craziest thing is whenever you see the caught stealing, they're never actually caught stealing on the
No, they just
throwdown.
get
It's
picked
it's a
off. Yeah.
pickoff. It's a
Yep.
pickoff. But that's
I
but
know.
that's the
Yeah.
but that's the way that the Mets move. They move with the
Yeah.
walking leads. They take advantage of the pitchers. And the pitchers, 99% of the time, you would think that they would pick up on it. Sure, the Mets are getting picked off here and there, but they're taking advantage of everybody. And Richardson has it down to a science. You mentioned Soto praising him. I mean, up and down the order, not only they're hitting, but they're making the most out of their opportunities. If somebody gets on, whether it's Beatty or McNeil, like you mentioned, even Torrens stole a base the other night. Like
Yeah, yeah. That's
it's
what I'm
it's
saying. They got guys stealing bases. Cedric Mullins is joining the party. Tyron Taylor before he got hurt, he was stealing bags left and right. I think too the Mets, obviously this year, not just this year, but like I'm going looking like far beyond. Like once the pitch clock and like the throw over rule started,
yeah,
I feel like the Mets took like full force advantage of it.
yep,
At one point when we were growing up, they were one of the worst base stealing teams ever. You know what I
yeah. It was
mean? And
Jose
and
Reyes
now
by
all of a sudden,
himself.
like yeah, and now all of a sudden they just mastered, a skill or they mastered, like you say timing up. That's the big that this is the first time I've seen a first base coach have an impact like that in a long, long time. You know what I mean? You just think as a first base. I mean, growing up, you just think as a first base coach, oh, I'm just telling the guy to go to second. Nah, it's bigger than that. You're telling him to get back. You're telling him about his lead, and then, like you said, Antoine Richardson, he's kind of leveled up and he's mastered it, and now he's timing up every pitcher. No matter how good the pickoff move is.
Yep. Yeah, it's always been the third base coach that's been under a microscope, right? Because they're in charge of
Mm.
waving a guy home, and then you can criticize, you can look in hindsight that he should have sent this guy home or that guy home, right? Or should have held them up. But
Yeah.
I mean, Antoine Richardson, he really is like an underlying MVP of this
No, I
season.
know.
It's
I
it's
know.
it's crazy. But I know that I did mention a lot of players not named Mark Vientos, and you brought up Vientos. Similar to what I said about the last 15 games for everyone. Vientos 298, 385 with a 702 slugging percentage in his last 15 games with 6 home runs, 16 RBIs. You take that and you bring that down the stretch. We're going to go to Philly next week, which we know that he loves playing there. We saw it last
Hmm.
October.
Yeah.
And then into this year in October, if the lineup just continues to do it, and all of a sudden they're hitting fastballs like they couldn't hit a fastball for anything. And
Yeah.
since August 12th, they have arguably the best offense with runners in scoring position, best offense on fastballs. I mean, up and down the stat charts, they are number one, and it's like better late than ever. No one's complaining here.
100%.
It's great to
Yeah.
see it, but it's like Hey guys, where were you during the little bit of a
Yeah,
June swoon and then the craziest thing is it's like August. Offensively speaking, I mean, this just goes to how alarming the pitching has been, and we'll talk about that. But August, they were the best offensive team in baseball, and they still went 11-17 somehow.
yeah. I was gonna say that their record was still pretty bad in the month of August. But that's why like good teams, no, excuse me, great teams when they're clicking on all cylinders and everything's going right, you know, that like we had the best offense in baseball for that month of August, and we still managed to be 6 games under, in the month of August because of how bad the starting pitching has been. But one guy that hasn't been bad, his name is Nolan McLean.
Oh my goodness.
My guy.
Um, oh
I
my
know, Cowboy
goodness.
Otani. He's been the
Yeah,
real deal. He's
yeah,
been the real
yes.
deal.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's get into that. So obviously, as I just said, the offense doesn't matter if you're talking about Juan Soto or Luis Torrens. Everybody's hitting, right? The pitching has been another story. Okay. And since we last touched base, since we put out episode 18, Jonah Tong did make his major league debut, and we'll touch upon that. But Nolan McLean is the real deal. I mean, there is no questioning that. I found it interesting. I was listening to WFAN this morning, which I never do. I normally only listen to it when I'm with you going to a game. I'm an old school guy. I like the Steve Summers and the Joe Beningos and the Mike Francesas, and I'm not
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the new age crap. But I was listening to it earlier, and they were talking earlier today, and they weren't necessarily comparing him to Tom Seaver, but just the way that he uses his legs, and he has
Mm,
very sound mechanics, and he's got the most strikeouts as a Mets starter through his first four career starts. He's won his first four outings, which is the most since I believe Chase Anderson did it back in 2014. He won his first five. I mean, it didn't really pan out great for Chase Anderson, but Nolan McLean has a different game to him. But he's got a 137 ERA, 28 strikeouts in 26 and a third of an innings pitched. And I think you can look at the game against Philly, right, where he went 8 shutout innings, gave up 4 hits, didn't walk a batter. But I think last night against Detroit, a very good Detroit team in that, okay, the way that he struggled, he reminded me of Jacob DeGrom when DeGrom started figuring everything out, right? And obviously DeGrom, I mean, I think for his Mets career, he has like a 2.57 ERA, the best ERA in Mets history. But the way that in the first 2 innings he struggled with his command, especially of that sweeper, and then all of a sudden he realized, all right, I got my fastball in my back pocket, so let me use that. Let me use the two seam, right? Let me use the sinker. I mean, he was able to maneuver out of that 6 innings, 3 hits allowed, 2 runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, and in all 4 starts, what I've loved is like he's maybe had like 4 or 5 strikeouts through 5, 6 innings, and then all of a sudden he's able to like ramp it up and pick up
mm.
another couple as the has gone on. I mean, dude, he's just been absolutely electric. I love everything that I've seen from him thus far.
Yeah, man. I mean, you brought up a great point that he struggled last night early. Mets go up 1-0, and then he gives the lead right back. It's 2-1 early. You're thinking in your head, oh man, it's gonna be that start where we might see his true colors. Nah, but he was straight poised. His demeanor on the mound is just it's infectious, as I should say, because when he goes, the team goes. I was there when he threw the 8 shutout innings against Philly, bro, and he was unhittable. He was
Crazy.
untouchable. And just the confidence, you see it right then and there. He belongs here. Better late than never. The couple of Mets fans are lucky I haven't been on the episodes when we were in the June swoon or when we were calling for them to call him up and this and that because it would have been a very loud summer. But the fact that he's here, better late than never, and hopefully he can continue his run because it's been phenomenal.
No doubt. And I mean, dude, if you go to Baseball Savant, obviously he uses 6 pitches, right? The sweeper, sinker, curveball, four seam, changeup, and a cutter, right? Uh,
Sick Arsenal.
Sick arsenal. The cutter, he's getting hit the most, but he's only using it at 6.2%, 333 average against. But he has a 26, nearly a 27% whiff rate. The sweeper he uses the most, 28%, 267 average against. Everything in between there, okay? Sinker, nearly 27%, 148 batting average against. Curveball, 17% of the time, 133 average against. The four seamer, just about 15%, 111 batting average against, and then the changeup, 6.5% hitters haven't gotten a knock against it, right? So the fact that he's recognizing, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not going to use the cutter as much uh, due to the fact that hitters are knocking it around a little bit. He's able to go from one pitch to another based upon how he sees the approach at the plate from the hitters. And even last night, like I think it was, who was it, Glaber Torres, right? And I
Mhm.
think it was either McLean's sixth or seventh strikeout, but he was trying to get that sweeper, and that sweeper wasn't working last night, and neither was the curveball. He wasn't really able to locate it like he wanted to, but he was trying to nick the outside part of the plate, and then all of a sudden he ends up throwing. I think it was a. I'm pretty sure it was a sweeper or a cutter, but it was like a, he wanted to run on the outside part of the plate. It ends up coming in, and then it breaks right over the inside part of the plate. Easy strike three call, got him looking in it, and it's just he's I don't want to say masterful, but he knows his craft. And as a 24-year-old, yes, I agree with you, dude. I mean, all summer, I know you haven't been around in a while. All summer, we were banging the horn. Where is Nolan McLean? Why isn't he up yet? Our starters are struggling, X, Y, and Z. Better late than ever. And again, October's the tournament at this point. You make it, yeah, you know what you're going to get from him. Hopefully he continues this. And he's got a big test. Facing two teams that were either chasing in Philly and then also right behind us in the wild card race in Cincinnati. Um, but I mean, it's electric, and I think that is the one thing where it's like his first start was August 16th, and you know that the extra year of team control came in on August 15th. So you knew what David Stearns was doing. But I think that the one thing is, whether you disagree or you agree with what David Stearns has done with certain aspects of the team, the one thing that he's able to do is he's able to find these players in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth round of the draft and turn them into studs. I mean, you see Santucci, Wenninger, Watson, what they're doing in the minors. Now you have Tong and you have McLean up at the majors. We're waiting for Sprode as well. It's just it's incredible to see. And McLean's been absolutely remarkable. The other guy, Mr. Jonah Tong. Were you there for Jonah's first start?
Yeah, I was. I ended up copping last minute tickets.
Now
And that was
that
the game they scored like 10 runs in the first inning. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the 19-9 game, and then Luis Torrens ended up hitting a home run. Then he pitched an inning later, right?
Yeah, yeah. That was funny.
Yeah,
That was
I was
funny.
like, yo, all right, can the Marlins put in somebody to actually pitch so we can get through this inning? And then all of a sudden, Carlos Mendoza throws Luis Torrens out. And I'm like, I understand why, but
Yeah, it was
but could we
19 to
just get
2.
could we
Yeah.
just get this game over with? But Jonah Tong in his first start against Miami, he went five, and as you said, tons of run support. Right, didn't
Yeah.
walk about her. Great sign. Six strikeouts, the one earned run, six hits allowed. The one thing that I will say that I noticed is that he was missing with his fastball glove side.
Yeah.
That was the one thing, and there were a bunch of nerves going in. And I guarantee you, in a close ball game, he probably would have attacked hitters differently than he did.
Mm.
I mean, the velo wasn't as, I think he topped out at around 97 or something along those lines. I mean, that's a great figure, right? But all in all, I thought Jonah was great. He used four pitches, the four seam change, curveball, slider. I would like to see him use the slider a little bit more. Didn't really throw that a ton. I think he only threw one or two pitches. Uh, but I mean, dude, I mean, from what I saw, 97 pitches, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, no, another top prospect that has a lot of promise for the New York Mets. He fit right in. He came in, Mets hit, he got the lead, didn't really try to nitpick too much, but ended up going through five. Um, the thing with him is he just reminded me of like Tim Lincecum. I know
Yep.
people are probably gonna be like, "Oh, you're saying that because you saw that on Twitter." Like, nah, bro. Like, just seeing him warm up, like it's similar. Like, I just see him like in his apartment, like working with the towel, like just straight over the top that towel drill, bro. But yeah, that he shows those signs of life down the stretch when we really need him and brings that energy just like Nolan McLean has. I have no doubt that he'll be pitching in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see a little
God
bit
willingly
more.
that we clinch.
I know, I know. Knock on wood, right? I mean, yo, listen, like, I
Yeah.
want to. I want to say, you can throw a 92-mile-per-hour fastball and get tons of swing and misses, right? It's not even just about deception, but it's more so, the run that the fastball has. Obviously, he's throwing much greater than 92. He's throwing 95, 96, 97. I just, in his first start, he threw 59 fastballs. I didn't necessarily see that swing and miss fastball. But again,
Yeah.
it's one start. The kid's what, 22 years old. He looks like he's 18, right? I felt like I was watching a travel ball game. He's a young kid, man, but I mean, yeah, I mean, he obviously doesn't qualify when it comes to advanced metrics since he's only thrown 5 innings, but his whiff percentage,
When's his next start? Real quick, sorry.
his next start, I want to
He's lined up. I
say,
think he's lined up to start against
I think
Cincinnati.
yeah, he's in Cincinnati. He's facing Cincinnati
Yeah.
on
So on Friday, I think.
no, no, Saturday. No.
Saturday. Well,
Yes.
actually, I don't even know who's going Friday
Yeah,
or
yeah, and
Sunday.
that's something that we'll touch upon. So obviously McLean, Tong doing well. Clay Holmes today. I mean, he allowed the two earned runs, 3 runs in total. Um, I thought he looked really good, and he only went 4 2/3, couldn't make it out of the fifth. 85 pitches. I wasn't necessarily arguing with the fact that Mendoza took him out of the ball game. I just think that Holmes has looked much better as of recent. I mean, listen, I don't think I like Gregory Soto with a clean inning. I really do. I think that
Mm.
he's given up quite a few inherited runners, but otherwise Soto's looked good. Gregory Soto, that is.
Yeah.
Um, but again, like the thing with Holmes is, yeah, he's not going very deep, but we're not seeing him give up a ton of hits, and we're not seeing the walks that we saw earlier on in the year. Sure, he walked 3, but he got 11 swing and misses today, which was the most out of any pitcher that appeared today. Picked up his 7th loss today. But listen, in a season where we've had the starters the way that they have, sure, Holmes has walked a ton of batters. Sure, he's given up hits. Dude, the guy's started 28 games,
Mm.
361 ERA, and nearly 150 innings pitched.
Yeah.
Like kudos.
Yeah, no, of course he's stayed the course. This is people need to realize too that this is his first big league season as a full-time starter. So I wasn't expecting him to not maintain that 3 ERA, but more so like, he started off hot. He was looking great. The Mets were winning every time he pitched. Like I didn't expect that to be like every time he went out there that he was going to pitch exceptional and the Mets were going to win. You know what I mean? There's bumps in the road. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. But yeah, he looked good today. It's just unfortunate that he couldn't get through five. That seems to be his Achilles heel
Quite a few of
throughout
their
this
Achilles
season.
heel.
Yeah, yeah, we're trying to get through the fourth or fifth inning. Um, but again, it's I feel like it's just set up for him to pitch out of the bullpen eventually. Um, and you said it best. He's made 28 starts. That's all I could, that's more than what I could ask for out of Clay Holmes.
Yeah, and
Even though
what
I had a
people
hot take saying that he was going to win the Cy Young, but whatever. We
everyone
got
everyone
eventually.
listen, everyone needs a hot
Yeah,
take. Everyone needs a hot
yeah.
take. And
That
you know
was a
what's crazy?
freezing cold take.
Yeah, you know what the crazy thing too is, it's like, dude, we talk about how great Luis Severino was last year, and it was more so like Severino was coming off of an injury, and we didn't know what we were going to get. Right, Clay Holmes wasn't coming off of an injury, but we didn't know what we were going to get because he was transitioning from the bullpen to the rotation. People forget, while Sevy started 31 games last year, which is what Clay Holmes is on pace to do, he had a 391 ERA. Again,
Yeah,
like
because he had
ERA,
that really bad start to the season.
yeah, ERA is not everything, right? But
Yeah.
if you take maybe 2, 3, 4 starts out of Holmes's equation, that
Mhm.
ERA drops. I don't have the FIP up, right? I guarantee you Holmes's FIP is higher based on the fact that he's allowed more base runners to reach.
Oh,
But given that in this rotation, if other guys panned out with the kids coming up, Holmes was really supposed to be a 3, 4, or 5. He's given you what you needed. It's the length, right? And I
yeah.
think that if he makes another 2, 3 starts, ends with 30, 31 starts, has 160 some odd innings under his belt, goes and pitches in the postseason out of the bullpen, I think you can build on that. And then entering year 2 as a starter, hopefully he can bump that up to 180 innings in the regular season, right? Um,
Yeah. And
And
we're
if
not,
not,
and
then
hopefully then we're not asking him to like start opening day, and be the
e-
one, quote
exactly.
unquote, like he'll be in that 4 or 5 hole, like you said. So
Exactly. The one thing is that we can't disagree with is that when you really look at the grand scheme of things, considering what Senga, Manaea, and Griffin Cannon going down, and the fact that the starters were kind of a mixed bag of balls,
yeah,
he's
and
given
David
us what we've
Peterson's kind of
needed.
hit a rut as well.
Yeah, David Peterson's hit a rut, but literally every 5 days since opening day, it's been Holmes and Peterson going out there every 5 days. So
Yeah, yeah,
again,
yeah.
again, kudos to them. We don't really need to touch upon David Peterson. I know that you mentioned he's hit a little bit of a rut. I think he'll get going. He starts game one in Cincinnati. The last thing that I do want to
Nice.
say on the last thing that I do want to say on the two kids quickly,
Hmm.
I've never
Shoot.
seen. I shouldn't say that because 2012 with Harvey coming up and then 2013 with Wheeler, you got that. But the one thing that I'll say is that for guys that don't play every single day in McLean, especially McLean, because Tong's only made one star, the Mets kind of righted the ship before that. They've provided such jolt and such energy to the ball club where a guy that's going out there and pitching and he's dominating, sure, it's infectious for the hitters and they want to back him up. But it just seems like it's turned into a completely different ball club all the way around since Nolan McLean has been called up against Seattle.
No, yeah, that's what you know moves like that can change a franchise. Look at the Giants in 2012 when they called up Buster Posey. They ended up
Yep.
being world champions. You know, um, young infectious energy, especially on the mound when you're throwing up zeros, when you're getting swings and misses, at a time where your team is struggling to like even put a run across the board. It's a jolt. Pitching performances jolt up teams. So we've seen it all throughout our Mets career. I mean, DeGrom, how many starts do we see DeGrom go 7, 8 innings, shutout ball, and then the Mets lose 1-0 or 2-0? You know what I mean? Like,
I know Jacob DeGrom was crying watching Jonah Tong get 19 runs of support
yeah, no,
the
for
other.
real, for real. Yeah, or what's his name? Syndergaard's just threw his glove at the friggin' at his flat screen because he was
Yeah,
watching that too or something. But nah, listen, man. I mean, and even looking back at 2015 with the Mets, they called up Conforto from Double A, and they made the World Series. Like
yeah,
he was he implemented himself in that lineup. So
yeah,
it's
and
it's it's about it's about the young guns along with the guys that you sign over the winter.
absolutely. And I think that that's just the most surprising thing for me. It's like, yeah, we know what Conforto did for the team. Yeah, you can look at a Buster Posey and what he did to the franchise, but it's just crazy that somebody who does not play every single day has seemingly made such an impact
Yeah,
for all aspects, whether it be rotation, offense, and so on. Right now, switching gears to the other two starters, right? Sean Manaea, Kodai Senga. We'll start with Sean Manaea. I think his spot is secured. The Mets went to a six-man rotation, but Kodai Senga completely blew up. Manaea also the other day against Detroit was absolutely miserable. Gave up 5 runs across just 3 and 2/3. The one thing that I'll say is he's getting swing and misses, but he hasn't been able to go beyond 5 innings over his last 3 starts.
yeah,
4 and 2/3, 4 and 2/3, and 3 and 2/3. And then obviously, thankfully, the Mets offense was able to come back multiple times, including Juan Soto, 6 RBI day, first in the opener, the 10-8 win against Detroit. Uh, Manaea to me, I just think, yeah, it's a combination of him getting his stamina back, but also he didn't have a spring training. He didn't really have a rehab assignment. The rehab assignment was kind of rushed. And then
mm,
also, whether he wants to admit it or not, we've seen pitchers, and I'm trying to remember. I don't know if it was John Maine. I know John Maine had so many injuries; it was just crazy. But he does have those loose bodies in his elbow that he's most likely
yeah.
going to have to get removed this offseason,
Hmm.
right? So I think that has kind of impacted the way that he has gone about every fifth day. Um, the one thing that I like about Manaea is that there's a maneuver that they can make when they're ready, when they want to call somebody up or they would rather give somebody else the start. Manaea does have experience coming out of the bullpen. And I
Yeah,
think that even though you don't want to look at it and say that we have someone that's making nearly $25 million a year coming out of the bullpen, I think at least for this year, it's important, right? Um, the one thing that I'll say that I've noticed is that his arm angle. I've noticed that it's a little bit lower than it was, and obviously that's what made him more effective last season. But I'm actually looking at his movement profile. This year's arm angle is at 16 degrees, and last year's at 22 degrees. And we know that a little adjustment, can speak volumes, right?
I mean, yeah, yeah,
Another thing is he went from throwing around 6 pitches last year, four seam sinker, sweeper, change, cutter, slider, to really only predominantly throwing four this year in the four seam, sweeper, change, and sinker. Uh, Listen, we know that we'll see him pitch, but it's definitely been concerning watching Manaea the last several starts.
yeah. No, I mean, you threw up a bunch of red flags and question marks. The pitches I didn't know about the six. He threw 6 pitches last year, and now he's only predominantly throwing four. That's a little concerning. Maybe that has something to do with his elbow. And
Yep.
maybe he doesn't throw certain pitches because of that. The arm angle thing is another question mark. That was where he was successful last year, was lowering that arm angle and kind of pitching like Chris Sale-esque. And what I noticed from his last start was that he tries to paint the inside corner on righties, right? But he's missing really to the point where the ball is just right down the middle, and his velo isn't there. I saw a couple times he was 92, 91, which is kind of, raises your eyebrow a little bit, especially for
Yep.
a guy who was topping out at like 96 last year. Um, I don't I don't necessarily mind the move to the bullpen. I understand the money aspect of it, but if the Mets were willing to put Frankie Montez, who was making $17 million in the bullpen,
Ugh.
and they have Edwin Diaz, who's making close to 20 million a year, or if not 20 million a year, then I'm sure they'll have no problem with Manaea being a long reliever type. I just again, I think you hit it on the head in every point. To be honest with you, no spring training, no rehab assignment. Kind of got rushed back. It's been a mixture of things for Sean Manaea, but I just think to start though, he needs to, realize how his body works. If his elbow's really that messed up and he can't be at that arm angle where he was successful, or he can't throw a certain pitch, then there's no reason to be out there to begin with.
Yeah, and it's funny too because considering it's 6 degrees lower than it was last year, you would think that maybe that would be bothering him more than where it was last year, right? A little bit further up. But I mean, with that being said, it looks like he will get the start on Monday, the first game in Philadelphia. Um, Now, I think that long term, I think that maybe we could see with Manaea what they did in with his first start against Kansas City, right, where they had Clay Holmes start and then have Manaea come in
Yeah.
and pitch the final 3 or 4 innings. Who they do it with could be Brandon Sproat. Uh, I don't. Maybe you piggyback him and Kodai Senga. I don't really know, right?
Or
But
him and
speaking of
McGill.
Mr. Senga, okay,
Uh,
you mentioned before when we were looking at probables that the Mets have not announced a starter for Friday. Mike Puma reported this morning that Kodai Senga has been given the proposition of potentially going down to Triple A after his latest outing against Miami, where he was just absolutely abysmal. Uh, Picked up the loss, 4 2/3, 7 hits allowed, 5 earned runs. Dude, he's not getting the swing and misses. I spoke about this last time, and Rob,
especially
as
with
a
two strikes.
yeah, especially with 2 strikes, he's throwing the fork ball like a crazy amount. He's walking batters. He's having trouble putting them away, giving up hits. He's leaving the ball up in the zone. But this is something that I spoke about quite a bit last episode. And you, as a former pitcher, I want you to piggyback off of this as you could. What I've noticed is last year, right, he had the injury, but then he came back and he had the calf injury. This year, he's starting, he's killing it, and then he strains his hamstring, right? And something that I'm noticing is it doesn't matter what pitch he's throwing, even though he's still throwing his fastball, let's say 95 miles per hour, 96 miles per hour, there's no explosiveness that's coming from him. It's almost like his stride has shortened. And I don't know if that's something that you've noticed. And he even spoke through his interpreter and said that he's having trouble, he doesn't feel like all of his body parts are moving correctly. Uh, But what do you? I
Yeah,
don't
that
know
was
if you.
weird when he said
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I don't. But the thing is, mechanically, I've seen it. Right. It looks like he's more so aiming, and it's more so upper body that he's using rather than his lower half. He says that he's physically fine. I just I think that with the forkball and with his fastball that has a lot of movement on it, there's deception that comes with it. And when he's not able to launch off the mound, I think there's a big problem because I think a lot of it comes from his legs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I haven't really noticed anything mechanically personally. I just
I'll
agree
send you
with you in
clips
terms.
afterwards.
No, definitely, please. But I just agree with you in terms of like not getting the swings and misses, especially that start in Washington that we were at. He would go ahead 0-2 and then give up a base knock or like give up and they're not just like bloopers, like he's m making pitches and you just tip your cap. Like, nah, he's giving up home runs, he's giving up doubles down the line, he's giving up extra base hits off the after Wagyu.
Yep.
Um and it's really sad to see because considering that he had some votes for Rookie of the Year when he came to the Mets that one year. And he
He
was
was
pitching,
incredible.
and he was dominant to start this year. He was dominant last year until he got hurt. It's just been a roller coaster of an ML Met career for Kodai Senga. Honestly, I think the legs have something to do with it. I'll say that just because again, you're coming off the calf injury last year. You know, you got hurt this year with your hamstring. A lot of pitching is. You look at Tom Seaver, you want to talk about strides. Look at Chapman, you want to talk about strides. A lot of it is lower half, and if his lower half's not right, then maybe that's the problem, or maybe that's the solution to his problems,
Yeah.
which have been on the mound. He's got to get his lower half right. But yeah,
Yeah.
I root for the guy because he was a big time player out in Japan, very highly regarded when we signed him, and he's another recruiting piece in terms of like the international point of free agency. If we go that route again, but. Again, I root for him because I like him. It's just been abysmal. It's just been impossible to watch, though. I'll be honest, it's been impossible to watch.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the thing. It's like I know that when we were in Washington, we were talking about the fork ball, right? And the people in back of us were like, "What's a fork ball?" And we're like, "Yo, come on now!" Like he throws it like 24/7, and it was when he first came to the Mets in 2023. It was like his out pitch more so. He was still using it a little bit above 20%, but like it was like his out pitch. This year, he's throwing his fastball 31.5% of the time, his fork ball 28.5% of the time. So there's no more of that put away pitch. He's barely throwing the slider, barely throwing a curveball. The sweeper, he's only throwing 6% of the time. Like there's not much differential between his pitches. And then as you mentioned, he can't put away guys. What I would love to measure where he's landing now compared to where he was landing beforehand on the bump. Because, if you want to tell me that a guy is lights out, unhittable through his first 14 starts, 1.4, 1.5 ERA, and then he has an arm injury, and then he comes back and he does what Senga's doing right now. That's one thing. But to have a hamstring injury and then come back and perform like this tells me that there's something wrong lower
Mhm.
half wise. And when I saw the Mike Puma tweet, it was crazy that I saw that when I saw it because last night I looked at the Mets depth chart on Fangraphs and I noticed that Kodai Senga does have those three options remaining. Right, the Mets sign him as a free agent, international free agent, and he does have three options remaining. He just has to accept that option to go down to the minors. And listen, with the way that the Mets used him last year, in the postseason, and with us knowing, listen, Manaea uh, is a toss up, right? Clay Holmes is most likely going to go to the bullpen. Sanga should take this opportunity and run with it and make another start or two down in the minors because even though we love McLean, we love Tong, we might see Sproat as well. It's definitely concerning going into maybe a 3-game playoff with David Peterson, Nolan McLean, and Jonah Tong because the latter two have not been on the big stage like that.
Mhm.
You know, So, I mean, we'll definitely see. I'm hoping that Senga can go down to the minors. I mean, again, that'll be which start? Sunday? Yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
so Sunday is TBD. I would love to see Brandon Sprode up here. He's been tremendous in August and through his first start in September. I would love to see Brandon Sprode up, have the three kids together,
My
let
fault.
Kodai Senga get straightened out. I think it would do wonders for him and wonders for the Mets because a good Kodai Senga goes such a long way, uh, for this Met organization. Now, Rob, the last thing that I want to bring up, okay, and I know that I mentioned I was listening to WFAN earlier today, and I don't normally do that. And I was listening to Brandon Tierney and Sal Licata, and we know that Sal Licata is like a blabber machine. He's, tries to make a big deal out of nothing all the time. But I must have missed this. But last week, and the reason why they brought it up today was because they admittedly said that they missed it as well. I think it's a bag of nothing. Okay. But last week, Juan Soto was talking to Mike Puma of the New York Post. And essentially, Soto, in the midst of his crazy month, he said in a big quote, he said, in regards to Starling Marte, he's literally the leader of this team. I feel like he's actually the captain of this team. Okay. I wanted to get your take. Okay. Sal Licata said that it was a shot at Francisco Lindor.
Of
And I tweeted him, I
course he
tweeted
did.
at him right away. I think that what it was listen, we know the impact that Starling Marte has on not only Soto, but this club in general. Okay. We also know that Marte helped recruit Soto to the Mets. And we also know that Starling Marte is having a very under the radar season when healthy, and he's a free agent after this year. So I think that maybe it was a public display of maybe an endorsement like, hey, maybe the Mets should bring him back as a bench piece for next year because he's really good on and off the field, right? I don't think it was a shot at Lindor. And that's Brandon Tierney was like, I don't think it's a shot at Lindor, even though they say he's the quote unquote captain of the team. Soto earlier this year was saying that Lindor was great going to every locker after games and talking to them and making sure that everyone was good, right? I think it's a bag of nothing. And again, the quote was
I
much
mean,
longer than that, but what's your
I know,
take on
I
that?
know. It's just no, it's just drama that the New York media wants to happen. You know, they don't like seeing that the Mets are playing well. They don't like seeing that when Starling Marte's name was called and he's throwing guys out from left field after not playing 25 straight games in a row, you know, and then getting big hits. You know, like Starling Marte is a seasoned ball player. He's an MLB veteran. He's like a Curtis Granderson in my eyes. He's a seasoned MLB veteran. You think of Starling Marte, you're gonna think, oh wow, he was a good player. He's a guy maybe that won't make the Hall of Fame, but he was a freaking damn good player.
Yep.
And that's just real recognized as real in my opinion. You know, they're both Dominican. He's freaking Marte was the main reason why Soto came to the Mets. They're obviously friends. You know, they from day one you've seen Soto with Marte in spring training, like riding the golf carts with Jose Siri. Like they're Dominicans love each other. They're like the band. They're I hate to say it, they're butt buddies, you know, and again, Marte came up big in that series in Atlanta, or that stretch where the Mets, you know, found themselves every time Marte was in the lineup, in late August, they were winning games, because of him, you know, and it's not no shot at Lindor. If it was, then why is Lindor celebrating with Soto while when Soto's going on that stretch run, hitting home run after home run, you know, like.
I know.
Or
Yeah.
taking
And
pictures after hitting home runs, like you know, smiling together, bro. I hate. It's just the New York media trying to stir some shit.
I know. And
That's
that's
why
why when I,
I had to let you finish because it's like, yo, it just grinds my gears, man. It's like, yo, the Mets are playing better than what we've been seeing the last 2.5 months. Now you want to ruin it with this bullshit. It's like, yo, like
yeah,
they're obviously not gonna make Marte the captain of the Mets. Like,
no, no. And listen, bro, if you and I were on the Mets, okay, and you brought me to the Mets and I had the platform to speak on your behalf, right? I would endorse you because he doesn't have a contract for next year, right? We don't know if this is
yeah,
Marte's last rodeo or if he's going to test free agency again. We know what Marte means to the team, so he publicly said it, right? And then Licata brought up, and somebody called in. Is there a thing between the Puerto Rican and the Dominican community? Yeah, we see it during the World Baseball Classic. There's a real rivalry there, right? But it's a whole bunch of nothing. It's a whole
yeah,
bunch of nothing when it comes to a potential shot that this quote could have taken at Francisco Lindor. I just, yeah, exactly what you said. 2.5 months of crap baseball. Now we're seeing them play well, and of course they're playing well against good teams. But then you got to throw something out,
yeah,
and that's to me like yo, I think that he was trying to help out his buddy, speak about how great he's been on and off the field, but also help him maybe get a job for next year as well, bring him back
yeah, yeah.
to the club, and I don't know. That's why I stopped listening to the fan. Just want to let you know that.
No, it's just insane. Like I don't understand it. It's one thing if Ryan Stanek like threw a shot at somebody, then someone was like, "Yo, pitch better." Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
drama. But like, oh yeah, Starling Marte, he's one of the main reasons why I came to the Mets. Like, he's a captain in my eyes. It's like, bro, like just because he's a captain in Soto's eyes doesn't mean that Steve Cohen makes him a captain. You know what I mean? Like we don't cater to Juan Soto that much. You know, like
No, no, and that's the thing. It's like nobody's what they're
yeah,
basically
yeah,
saying. Like it's the influence. Like Marte is a veteran presence.
yeah.
He's, as you just said, he's a captain to Soto. Like they love each other.
Mhm.
They're good friends. They're good
Yeah.
friends. They love playing together,
They
and that's
both
that.
played for the Dominican Republic. Like, come on, bro.
Exactly.
Yo,
Exactly.
you know what would have been funny though if Steve Cohen heard that and and then he named like Lindor captain the next day or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
And
really would have stirred the pot.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
honestly, yeah, now I think about it, that probably wouldn't have been the best idea. But
No.
nah, that
I
would have been
mean,
funny.
listen. I mean, listen, dude. I would love to if the opportunity arose next year. If let's say they had Ryan Clifford come up and be the DH, let's just say I'm just throwing it out there. A
Okay.
rookie, maybe bring back Marte as like a platoon option, right? I'm down with that, right? I'm fine with that. Okay. Let that take care of itself after the season. But I think that was a bag of nothing. Soto wasn't taking any shot at Lindor. We saw yesterday when Soto hit the home run, he came in and Lindor was all smiles, gave him the biggest high five. Like, bro, they just want to win. They just want to win. Bottom
Yeah,
line.
yeah.
Bottom line.
As do we, you know.
As do we, man. As do we. And with
Mhm.
that, dude, 22 games remaining. It is insane. It's insane. And the schedule is about to get a little bit crazier. Okay. Just looking ahead quickly, the Mets have off tomorrow, September 4th, and then they head to Cincinnati, who is currently behind us in the standings. It'll be David Peterson against Andrew Abbott, followed by Jonah Tong on Saturday. He'll be opposed by Brady Singer. And then on Sunday, I would assume it's one of three players. I would say either they bring McGill back, who was kind of roughed up in his last rehab assignment, um, potentially Brandon Sproat, or maybe Justin Hageman gets an opportunity. I don't know. Hageman's looked pretty good. They'll be opposed by Hunter Green. Also, want to say that I think that Francisco Alvarez will be returning in that series, so that would be a massive plus to all aspects of the team. And then the Mets go to Philly for a 4 game set, which, listen, I think they entered play today 5.5 games back of the Phillies in the National League East. It's more of I'm not going to say a pipe dream because anything's possible, especially if they take care of that series. But the Mets currently are 6 games back. The Phillies, that series right now, tentatively speaking, it's Sean Manaea against Aaron Nola, Nolan McLean against Ranger Suarez, Clay Holmes against Christopher Sanchez, and David Peterson against Jesus Luzardo, who got ejected in his last start against the Mets. Um, and again, just looking at the standings, Mets currently 6 back of the Phillies, who play tonight against the Brewers. And then they currently hold a 4.5 game lead atop of the Reds for the final wild card spot. And they also just sit a game out of the second wild card spot with the Padres, as the Padres have lost 8 of their last 10. Both the Reds are winning right now, 5-3. Both the Reds and Phillies are in action tonight. Robbie, in your return, you got anything else for us?
Nah, yeah, man. Listen, I've been saying it even when I'm not on the podcast, but it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I know it's been ugly. I know people want division titles. I know people want Juan Soto to hit like he's been hitting for a full span or for a full baseball season. Listen, that's baseball. All right. Mets are gonna hopefully give us a good final stretch to clinch a playoff berth, and then we're back where we want to be, just like last year. So I have full faith in this team. Mendoza, you gotta kind of lock in though when the playoffs start, especially with your bullpen decision making. But other than that, I hope everything just falls into place, man, and we just see another run like last year. But yeah, thank you for having me back, and let's go Mets.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And with that, episode 19 in the books. Remember to give us a follow on Instagram, YouTube, and X. We are at Cup of Met. Subscribe to the podcast, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Download the SeatGeek app, punch in code Cup of Mets at first purchase to get $20 off. And last but not least, head over to smackandsunflowerseeds.com, punch in code Ian05405 to get 10% off of any purchase. And with that, September has begun. Let's go Mets. For Robbie V, I'm Ian Bosniak. Good night, everybody.